in racing? Rivalries?
I would say yes and no. I think there certainly are certain drivers that I get along with better than others. You know, that you have more mutual respect for. Um, but I found, you know, over the years probably less of that than than previous. But yeah, I mean, you almost make it try to make it. You go out of your way to make it hard on them. Whether it's in practice or whatever the case is, or in the races, of course. But yeah, yeah, try to steer away from some of those these days. Just to kind of appreciate all the positions that we're in at the time. So
Yeah, usually in racing, when you have rivalries on the track, at the end of the day, you're all friends, you know?
that's true. You all have something in common for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, what was your reaction to hearing recent tragedies like the death of Ken Squire and Cale Yarborough?
Yeah, it's icons of the sport. Certain icons of the sport, and where the evolution of motorsports has gone and what they've been able to do for the sport. And it's unfortunately it's a part of life. It's a reality of life. But I think to remember them, commemorate them, and celebrate them, and what they've done, and appreciate that is what we can do, right?
Yeah, I was really shocked about Jill DeFerrin. That was tragic. Like that was unexpected and sudden, you know. And he was one of my biggest heroes in IndyCar. I was really disappointed about that one, you know. He deserved a longer life, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, death is not an easy thing, that's for sure.
No, no. But he'll be remembered, you know. He was known as a class act and had a lot of friends in the community, and his
Yeah,
win at Indianapolis was well deserved.
it was, certainly was.
Yeah. What's the biggest race you've ever been to?
Um, so I haven't been sports car wise. I haven't not been to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That would probably be the biggest sports car race out there. The Rolex 24 is certainly a big one. I think it's growing in popularity. Honestly, I mean, I think between the driver lineups, the teams that are entered, the amount of fans that are coming out for the event, um, I would say probably that, ironically, which kicks off the season, is probably the biggest motorsport event that I've been to. I have been to the Daytona 500 before, which was an amazing spectacle. I was working with a partner that was sponsoring a car, actually, one of the cars, and that was truly a neat event to be a part of and to see. But otherwise, some other NASCAR races that are big. I kind of appreciate all motorsports and the different forms and disciplines that it takes. But yeah, I don't know. Like as far as attendance, I would say probably the Rolex 24 or Daytona 500.
Which Daytona 500 was it, and who were you with?
So it was. Let's see. It would have been 2016, I believe, and I was with a Florida based group that was actually part of the Florida Lotto. They were sponsoring the event rather than a specific car, and yeah, doing some work with some Florida entities, and it was neat to be there and be a part of that.
Yeah, I think that was the one with Denny Hamlin where he narrowly edged Martin Truex at the line, wasn't it?
I think you're right. Yeah, good memory.
And I think at the time it was listed as the closest finish in Daytona 500 history, I believe.
Wow, man, incredible! After 500 miles, who would think, right?
Yeah, and it seemed like Matt Kenseth was going to win, and that would have been a redemption story because the previous year, we know what happened at the end of the year with him, but that would have been redemption. But, it was great to see Denny win a Daytona 500 because, it was, he needed a Daytona win for some time, in my opinion.
Yep, yep, definitely was due.
Yeah. So, what do you think was the biggest upset in your career? Like the most surprising thing that ever happened as far as racing?
Hmm, biggest upset. It's hard to say if that season we had where we won all those races and won the championship was an upset, but that season we weren't necessarily the favorites on the team from a standpoint of the level of support. There were some other uh, drivers on that program. It's co-drivers, right? Because it's endurance racing. We had two drivers per car. There were some other pairings that definitely were the favorites, and we were kind of late to the party, if you will, late to the team, late to put the program together right before the season started, and came out and won the first race. So I think that was kind of in a way the momentum shift and started that whole upset that season. And I think we became the favorites by the end. But the point being, I think we were the underdogs. At least in my mind, we were. So
You probably should have seen the upset that I heard about last year when Shane Van Gisbergen won in the streets of Chicago. Like, that was the most surprised I've ever been in racing in general.
that caused a lot of excitement, a ton of excitement. I mean, yeah, including myself. I think even racers were so excited to see something like that. He gained a ton of respect and momentum uh, from that for sure.
He definitely did. And I remember thinking to myself, finally, a road course ringer won a cup race. Because it had been decades since that happened. It was Mark Donohue, and they came close with Ron Fellows and Boris Said, and then it seemed like the road ringers were over. And then Shane comes in and has a perfect race, and it's like, wow, there's hope for road course racers after all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect storm with the rain and the whole bit, right?
Yeah. So, have you ever raced at Road America?
Beautiful place. Yes, very very fortunate to be there several times last year, and yeah, that place never gets old. It is such a beautiful track and surrounding area. Like just one of my favorites.
What's the best run you've ever had at Road America?
What is the best run? I feel like we had, you talk about getting lucky, right? We had a race where it was shortened due to lightning, right? So it wasn't necessarily we would run in the rain and it started raining, but then it started to lightning, so they stopped the race, and we ended up with a 1-2 finish. The team did, and I, the way it goes, we actually shouldn't have finished first, second, but because of the short in the race, the reason why we shouldn't have finished first and second is because our strategy was not going to pan to do that. We were still needing to pit one extra time before the end, but we were in the right place at the right time when they called it, and yeah, that was probably the best results we had there. Although I feel like there's been lots of great races, great memories running there.
What's the fastest pole you've won?
Fastest pole. Oh, as far as speed,
Yeah, what I mean is, wait, of all the poles that you've won, what's the fastest and what's the most memorable?
hmm. I would say probably at Lime Rock Park. Lime Rock, it's a fast track. It's short. It's a mile and a half, and it's kind of, they call it the bull ring, right? It's a short, it's almost like a Bristol in terms of road course racing. It's a short, fast track. It's got good elevation. It's a neat place, but there probably have the biggest margin for the pole setting the lap time there, which is hard because it's a short lap. It's under a minute, right? So
Yeah, for sure. So, what do you do outside of racing to keep the bills coming and all that?
yeah, so I do a lot of coaching, a lot of working with other drivers, whether they're young, starting out their careers, or gentlemen drivers that just do it as a hobby. It's just a lot of fun to kind of be helping others, and like you said, make a living in motorsports, whether you're driving yourself or helping others go faster.
That's amazing. What's your business called?
Yeah, so it's just Tom Long Racing, and it's just a coaching based business that I do. Been doing it for a long time, and really enjoy it. It allowed me to get to a lot of different venues, a lot of different tracks. Like I say, work with a lot of variety of drivers. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We got a website, Tom Long Racing, and on all the socials as well with that.
Good to hear. And this is the final question I have, which is how can your journey impact millions of race fans?
Well, I would say you said how could it or how has it?
Let me, yeah, how can your journey? Let's just say that.
I would say, as far as getting the question how to get involved in motorsports, I get that quite a bit. I giving advice to fans that are interested in getting involved. It's starting out, volunteering for a race team just to get some experience. But it's amazing how good some of those volunteers end up being and how dedicated they are. And then they start to gain more responsibilities and getting in with the team or other teams and start to network and gaining experience. And next thing you know, they have a career in motorsports. Whether it's as a mechanic or a manager, a team manager, or a logistics coordinator, or hospitality. So many roles that you don't think about. Transport, as far as truck drivers transporting all the rigs and everything. So many different aspects to the sport. And I would say that's kind of, when I get asked that, that's happy to spend the time to talk with somebody about how to get involved.
That's good to hear, man. You're truly an inspiration, and you'll be an inspiration for years to come for sports car fans.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show today.
No problem. So, everybody, we'd like to thank Tom Long for appearing on SFM, and we'd like to send our thoughts and condolences to the families of Jill DeFerrin, Cale Yarborough, Ken Squire, and Sherry Polex, whom we've lost over the year. And we wish their families and friends nothing but the best, and we will remember them always. And we'll see you next week for the next episode of SFM.